What do you have to tell us about these roles, and how do you reconcile that with the Constitution and standing orders? You know that you need permission from Mr. Speaker if you want to keep holding on to these positions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am leaving the boards of a lot of these organizations, save one. And that one I intend to apply through the Speaker and meet the committee, appear before the committee, and continue to hold myself as a CEO of that organization.
Are you suggesting that to date you're still CEO of those organizations, of being a member of Parliament for how many, about 8 months or thereabout? No, he came in 2016 and then continued. You're still CEO of those organizations?
No, Mr. Chairman. I no longer hold myself as an active CEO, but the documentation has not been perfected, and that is what I seek to do, sir.
When do you intend to perfect the documentation?
Honorable, it should be done before the end of this month, Mr. Chairman.
Which of the companies do you intend to hold on to? You haven't given us a name. You just said one. Which one?
Into IT Open College.
When do we expect that you would have applied to the committee of members holding office of profit to deal with that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That will be done this week.
Have you declared your assets?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have declared my assets.
And yeah, Mr. Chairman, still on the CV, page 2 of the CV, we have 2 dates on the CV for your period with the United States Air Force. You have August 2005 to March 2007/9. When were you discharged? Was it 2007 or 2009? You have provided two dates.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was discharged in 2007, but my certificate for honorable discharge was actually received in 2009. So it was assumed that within that period I was still in the United States Air Force.
Chairman, I know the Honorable Okuje to have asked for more evidence. When you see page 1, September 2001, June 2006, then you have -16. It gives you a longer than expected period. Do we have your permission to clean that up?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That permission has been granted.
Other than that, you'll be spending a decade on just one activity there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, the Honorable nominee has not told us the committees he serves on in Parliament.
He has answered that question already from the minority leader.
From leader, okay. And finally from me, page 2 of your CV, Youth Impact International. Can you share with us what it does? Same for Tomoni Kwewu. You don't indicate the locations of these Youth Impact International. We don't know where. Tomoni Kwewu, we don't know which part of Kwewu, whether Abetifi, Mpraiso, Nkoko, Ubo, we don't know. So can you give us specifics?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tomoni Orphanage is in Kwewu, Oboming. Youth Impact International was founded in the United States. Before I left, I was a founder in Ghana of Ghana Youth Development Chamber. When I went to the US, we founded the Youth Impact International to continue with the World Youth Forum activities. Thank you.
Honorable Cabo on the CV.
Okay.
I'll come back to you.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate Mr. Brian Acheampong on his nomination by His Excellency the President. My first question has to do with what has been your dealings with the Controller and Accountant General's department?
Does anybody have any question on CV? Yes.
All right, congratulations, Honorable Nominee. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Honorable Nominee, I see on the CV that from 1996 to, you only have accounted till 1996, and then there on you moved to June 2005. So I see a gap of about 9 years of your life unaccounted for on the CV. What were you doing within that period, between 1996 and 2005?
Please speak to the mic.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All that is provided for in the next page of the CV, page 2.
What was it? Were you working? Were you doing? So,
96 to 97, I did my national service, and then 97 to 2000, I worked with Tomoni Orphanage, and then I left for the United States of America, and then there I worked with Youth Impact International, and then in between that, my education.
so it's fully accounted for. All right. Now you can ask
Last
your
one,
question.
sorry,
Oh.
Mr. Chairman, last one. I'm still on the CV. I also noticed that 2005, you were supposed to be with the United States Air Force, that's in Texas. But there's also evidence that around that time you were in Ghana too, actively involved in many other things. So how do we know where you were, and how was your work schedule, let me put it that way, such that you could be in Ghana around that same time, 2004, 2005, yet you were also a member of the United States Air Force?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not too sure what the evidence is to suggest that I was around within that time.
Were you around or not?
Mr. Chairman, I was not.
All right. Honorable Kawana, I can ask you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Nominee, I was asking from you to explain to this committee what has been your
You're watching Joy News today with me, Benis Abu Baidu. We just came from Parliament, where Brian Acheampong is currently before the Appointments Committee, and he's the Minister Designate, Minister of State at the Presidency. Up next is Business with Emmanuel Opwajeriafi. Please stay with us.
Sent through a long chain, region, district, circuit supervisor, and then to the basic school, and then validated back. By the time it comes back, it's about 6 months. So if the person is no longer in the service, it makes it difficult for controller to have acted. The solution is to go electronic. They are finding a way to make sure that all institutions across the country go onto the IT platform to be able to validate their employees to clean the payroll of ghosts.
Chairman, given this answer, do you share the view that the controller should just be conceived and seen as a government treasurer and nothing more, and leave matters of HR? For instance, nurses and doctors, given the system you developed. I'm a nursing trainee. I'm in Anumabu or Salaga Midwifery School. My data and details are known as a nurse. I want to transit onto the system as a qualified nurse. and then I have difficulty assessing my salary. Why must that happen with the kind of systems that you build? And that's relative even to teachers.
Mr. Chairman, controller's responsibility, I find myself defending the controller, but I think it's because I've worked in that ecosystem. Controller's responsibility is to pay the salary that is brought to the controller. I wouldn't agree that the functions of the controller should only be treasury management. Payment of salaries is a core function of the controller. So is the preparation of the public accounts. The controller cannot pay salaries if the information is not brought to the controller and accountant general. So it's incumbent on the ministries that are working on behalf of its employees to ensure that the information is transmitted to the accountant general for him to make the necessary payments. But I am not aware that when any documentation is presented to the controller, there are delays in the payment of salaries. That one I am sure it is done promptly. It is the process of getting the information to the controller that sometimes delays the process. So I cannot support the argument that the controller should only be limited to treasury management.
You were involved in the politics of Suhum.
51.
And you are a gentleman and you look a gentleman. A lot of acrimony and mudslinging in the area of Suhum politics and undermine. Do you regret any action that you probably have been associated with in your bid to unseat or undermine or get involved in the politics? You are human, you have strengths, you have weaknesses. Do you regret any mudslinging actions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the Honorable said I am a gentleman and look a gentleman. If I can have that in writing. Just so. Thank you. On hindsight, I think there were some minor incidences that happened in Suhum. Yes, minor incidents. That I think being human, yes. Looking back, I regret. I wish some of those things had not happened. Thank you.
Mr. Nominee, I see from your CV that you have a vast experience in security, military training, and I just want to relate. I mean, what, with the background that you have, how do you assess security of Parliament and of MPs in the current scheme of vigilante groups and their activities and what has been happening in London?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. An attempt to list the loopholes of parliamentary security in a public forum like this is just letting the enemy know what the loopholes are. So if you will spare me not to directly answer those questions, but to refer my recommendations to the House Committee to look into. Now with the, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You asked a question on CV, yes, Honorable C.
All right, thank you very much, Honorable Nominee. So I see your background in IT and also military, and that is an interesting combination, especially given the nature of terrorism these days. And I would like you to tell us how your experience will be brought to bear in the management of our security, especially as it has become so sophisticated, and the enemy and others will use IT-driven technologies these days to cause a lot of mayhem. What is the relationship you see between IT and the safety of our state?
We as a country, there are major gaps. Major gaps. I've had the opportunity to speak with a lot of the security agencies, and I realize that we're lacking. But again, any attempt to profile the problems that we have will be to exposing ourselves to the enemy. So if you can allow me to send my recommendations to the appropriate bodies, which I'm already working with, the NCA, the Ministry of Defense, the Minister is here himself, and the National Information Technology Agency. We're having discussions on how we can use cyber security to counter terrorism.
Now, how is or was Charles Nault, an American citizen, known to you?
Charles Nault was a partner at one time.
When was this?
Mr. Chairman, in 2003.
And what business did you do with him and what happened? And again, Mr. Chairman, you take note that earlier I asked about the whereabouts of the nominee and the fact that he was in Ghana in 2003, 2004. I hope you take note. Thank you. So what nature of business were you doing with Charles Nault?
Mr. Chairman, a point of correction. The year that I was in Ghana that he mentioned was 2005, 2006, not 2003, 2004. And back to the question. In 2003, I was, if you look on my CV, there was Atrion Networking, and I was a partner in that organization with Charles Nault.
Maybe a final one. The matter, the business deteriorated into a police case. A police report was written on it, and you were accused with others of an attempt to defraud him. How was it settled?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was in 2003, during the NPP primaries, and I have cited the letter that you have in the letter in circulation and probably in your custody. It was during the 2003 primaries that got Honorable Opariansa elected. A police case was made. The letter was written to the NPP headquarters that there was such a case of investigation against me, and therefore the party asked me to step aside. I was a rookie at that time in politics. I guess was strangely honorable. Immediately after the primaries, when I was asked to step aside, this case disappeared. I was not charged, I was not prosecuted. And so that is as far as I know about that case. In any case, I wasn't aware that there was any such letter in circulation until about several years ago, about 3 years ago, when I saw a copy of it, that indeed that was a letter that was written to the party headquarters. That is what I can say about that incident. Thank you.
Hello, Honorable Esla.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And congratulations, Mr. Nominee. Mr. Chairman, there appears to be quite a lot of noise in the room, and so...
Can we have some order, please?
Thank you. Mr. Nominee, this is a follow-up to an earlier question you answered as to how information is transmitted to the controller for inputting into the system to enable salaries and other things to be paid. You have quite some experience in IT, and you know that there's a dearth of IT professionals in the public sector. And this in line with the challenges that you've already experienced and the policy of improving or increasing the uptake of technology to enhance the efficiency in the public service. What recommendations would you make to improve the quality, one, and the number of IT personnel in the public services to facilitate the greater uptake of information technology to enhance efficiencies and the e-government that we're all preaching generally?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've worked quite a bit with the ministries of Ghana. And what I realize is that the IT staff they have on board are mainly technicians. The computer that we use in our offices is just to type and print documents. We don't fully take advantage of IT in terms of deploying applications to make our life easier. And so a lot of the IT people that we have in the ministries are moving from one offices to the other, changing cables, removing viruses from computers. They don't use them for what most of them are trained to do. Mr. Chairman, I recommend strongly that government should move into applications to make our life easier and get us to be more productive.
That's all we can bring you now by way of that vetting process where Brian Acheampong is currently before the Appointments Committee. That'll be it for Jaw News today. Before I go, a recap of our headlines. Tema Traditional Council vows to resist the selection of a non-indigene to the position of a chief executive of the Tema Metropolitan Assembly. Also in this bulletin, we brought you police picking up a third suspect in connection with an Nkoko gang rape in which 5 men defiled a 14-year-old girl, leaving her with life-threatening health complications. We were also live in the Ashanti region to pick up some updates of that issue over the weekend where the Delta Force Vigilante Group assaulted and threw the President's Security Coordinator nominee out of office. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. Many thanks for your company in this edition. Up next is The Marketplace with Emmanuel Abwaji. We are free to enjoy the rest of the day.